What is going on? What is going on? Just fix this up a little bit. Ah, all right, all right. How is everybody doing tonight? Still get a little bit of a better tilt on the camera. There we go. Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. Go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! Go New York, go New York, go! Yes, sir. Big W in the garden. Big W in the garden. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody. Clearly, it's going to be a good night, a great night. We're going to try and have some fun here on the first stream of Night Vision, where I'm going to try and stream this weekly just to kind of get a feel for it, see the outline of the show. But basically it's going to be just a nightly late night chill vibes where we go over some content that I have seen throughout the week, and we're just going to give our opinions on it, see what we think, how we can adapt, how we can really notice things that are happening around us that people don't necessarily respond to, ignore, or just looking to really dissect and understand what's at play and what's happening throughout our world, throughout society, what's going on, and definitely try and get some games going in here. I'll probably switch to a game probably midway through, just so that we can get some games going. So if you want to play a game tonight, let me know. Comment which game you want to see. We definitely got a pretty good playlist right now, and yeah, might hop on Neo, might hop on Mouse PI, try and finish those two games. But let's get into it, guys. So as we all saw, New York just won their playoff game. It was definitely a tough one. Not as easy as that first game. That first game was beautiful, masterclass. But Philly adjusted. Well, Joel Embiid definitely put pressure on our guards, and it definitely made it a tough game. Definitely made it a tough game this second game. But it's definitely great going up 2-0 in the series, going back to Philly. So I could definitely see some good progress happening for the Knicks. And let's see what happens. That momentum is hopefully going to carry them while in Philly. I could see a potential sweep happening, but it really depends on which Philly comes out. If Joel does decide to play in the first game, how does that affect their pacing and how they affected our pacing in game two? And what kind of comes with, him not playing, for the rest of the series, or even limited minutes, trying to get that rotation in with a heavy guard rotation from Philly. Adjusting to that, let's see how that goes. Mike Brown, these plays out of timeouts are really looking shaky. Really looking shaky. We got to start getting some cleaner plays out of timeouts so that we can either secure points or ensure that we just get possession. I feel like a lot of the plays that he's been calling out of a timeout has not been leading to an easy possession of the ball or real points out of the timeout. So I think we really got to work on getting our points after timeouts and true possessions after timeouts up. And I think that's definitely going to help us later on when we get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then potentially the finals as well. So, got to stay focused, got to stay locked in. And in being locked in, we're definitely going to be talking about a wide range of topics tonight. We're going to probably be bouncing around a little bit from New York to Disney to what else we got on this roster? Disney, Netflix, all those prime companies, and then definitely getting at least one or two gaming content videos in there. So to start off, we're going to be watching our boy Cash Jordan again. And if you guys also haven't seen, Nick Shirley has had an interesting time in Cuba recently, and he's been doing some great work, some really great journalism, and really putting himself out there. But we're going to touch on Cash Jordan and New York City As I've said in the past, I think he's covering New York City very well, what's happening in NYC. And then I also think that the issues in New York City are actually not something that is New York City alone, right? We're not the only ones that are dealing with these issues. I think an ideology that's being pushed right now is causing for a lot of these cities, a lot of these great cities to be affected majorly because it starts to cause for a deterioration within the city, and it starts to cause for the lack of, I would say, stability and innovation, in my opinion. When you start to remove the value of money and generating money within a city, I think it starts to become very difficult in order for you to innovate, maintain the city, and just keep a balanced budget in order to move the city forward and then potentially put in the social programs that you would like. But if you do not have a stable forefront or a stable budget to incorporate a lot of these programs, social programs that we would like to instill to help those around us, it really leaves us in a tough position because now we're kind of chasing the ability to provide these programs to people in a proper and sufficient manner while also maintaining those that are working in order to fund the state, in order to generate revenue, and in order for the state to be in a net positive to move those programs forward to help those that are in the city that are struggling and are in need and need to depend on the state in order to help them survive. But we can't do that unless the citizens that are providing the funds, the revenue, and the taxes in order for the city to instill these programs, and we're starting to really strip their ability to do so, it makes it very difficult for cities to maintain a sufficient budget, a logical plan that they can put in place in order to progress the rest of the city. So we're going to get into it. Let me switch over. I'm sorry. I think it's this one. All right. So we're going to be talking about Cash Jordan. We're going to be seeing what he thinks about the current rent freezes that are going on in New York and the plan to freeze the rent, and how it's kind of just affecting New York City as a whole. Actually, let me just go grab my headphones real quick so that I can listen in with you guys. Just give me one moment. So let's get into this thing. What the heck?
Yeah, Marissa, for the past few months, we've seen the MTA tackling fare evasion across our subway systems with those new fare evasion gates. And now that same fight is expanding to our city buses.
Oh, yeah?
Bus riders who use their phones, credit cards, or Omni cards to pay the fare are now subject to providing that proof to civilian agents. And with the handheld mobile device, those agents scan for verification. And if you don't, you're issued a summons.
Wow.
Fighting back on fare evasion is hard.
This ain't free.
It's hard work. It requires...
The thing about fare evasion is that, like, you can't. Right now, New York is so squeezed right now. It's like so like financially squeezed out that like it causes for the ability for people that I think in the culture of New York, I mean, as you can see, it's not the full culture, but just you can see that there's an energy and there is a culture that believes that the corporations and those that have the financial capabilities are the ones that are the target, and that we do not owe them, or the culture doesn't owe them their funds, because they're still going to make their money and their revenue on other people. So fighting fare evasion is going to be something that is difficult to stop when everybody's money is so constrained and they're trying to figure out, okay, how can I really lengthen the dollars that I have in my pocket and not give them back to the corporations or to the state that are, running the city every day.
Cultural shift.
A cultural
where
shift.
People now desire or choose to pay.
The system has already been in place on select bus service routes.
In the morning, when you have at least about like 8 or 10 MTA enforcers coming onto the buses and actually slowing down the commuters. We are trying to get to work on time.
10 enforcement agents on the bus? That ain't free. That's pay or get punished.
It's just really excessive, and I think it's very abusive, and I think the neighborhoods are very much targeted.
Wow. Oh, targeting neighborhoods? That's not what people voted for.
8 to 10 agents on the bus. It's not crazy. Most people take public transportation in order to avoid New York traffic. They don't expect to be in traffic when just getting on a bus. Like, how do you end up putting people in traffic while on the bus, just to get on it, and then probably still end up in traffic to get to their locations? But you try to use public transportation to avoid traffic as much as possible, or driving in traffic. So now I gotta even scan my card and wait for people to get on, and agents just sitting there waiting for me to get on. It's like, geez, come on.
We're going to make buses faster. Together, New York. We're going to deliver universal.
Okay, but notice how the voters are filling in the blanks? He didn't actually say it, which means this isn't working out and people are starting to ask questions.
This is tomorrow. When do those free buses come?
When the fare was $2.90, 1 in 5 New Yorkers were being priced out of it.
Okay.
We know that for so many New Yorkers, public transit is increasingly becoming out of reach.
So why isn't it free?
That is why at the heart of our campaign was a commitment to make the slowest buses in America fast and to make them free. And that will continue to animate our work. It will continue to be one of the central commitments of our administration. And that is work that we will be doing in tandem.
So the idea of free buses is going to animate our approach to public transportation. That's a big problem. That means this whole thing has failed, because instead of actually happening, it's just animating how we do things, which means it's not working out. And you know what else isn't working out? Public safety. Look at this. We got a mob attacking a pro-Palestine mob attacking a house of worship. Look at these guys. Wow, they got past the gate. Where are they going? Those guys are trapped. Mob Donnie was supposed to make the buses free and unite everybody. This ain't unity. Is anyone getting arrested?
Well, I mean, but this is when you have when you try to instill free things. Like, those that are going to try and take advantage of the system and take advantage of like things being free, quote unquote, or attempting to be free, it just changes the culture and the narrative around all the other organizations that surround the city. Like when they know that everybody's getting certain services for free, they realize that it's going to start affecting the pockets of those that need to work for the city. So, in order for them to, let's say, protect certain things, such as, these other religious facilities, you don't have the funds to do so in order to supply the proper protection for that situation. So it makes things very difficult in order to manage the city as a whole. Like you start to lose the number of people that you can use to defend, and there's strength in numbers. There's strength in numbers, and if you're able to, use that strength, but actually fund the strength so that people want to protect, that is when you'll be able to actually be defending these systems. The culture will begin to change, and things will start to look up. But
oh, maybe. Look at this. But President Obama said the mayor wants people to be able to afford their apartments. Well, how's that working out?
Mamdani just announced a record $31 million in penalties against the owners of 2 residential buildings in the Bronx.
Penalties!
Tenants at Robert Fulton Terrace and Fordham Towers have been complaining for years now about broken elevators, rodents, leaks, and no heat or hot water.
Whoa.
The mayor
That's
says the
no
city
good.
will use every tool to get the repairs done for tenants.
Talking about a chief restructuring officer, an immediate hiring of a property manager, the freezing of the landlord's accounts,
Wow.
the money that would have otherwise been taken away from tenants being now reinvested back into tenants' lives.
So, we're being told that the people that own this building are so stupid, they're charging rents during a housing crisis, and they're somehow unable to fix anything. In a city where 1 bedrooms cost $5,000 a month. So, according to Google, in 20...
And honestly, I just think that like when you're removing these landlords, like, and I've been in some of these public housing facilities, and when you start to remove the ability for landlords to make any funds or any money, they're going to start looking at the profit margins and say, am I going to fix this tile that's broken in their kitchen, or am I going to save the money in order to potentially cover my ass and fix my own tiles in my kitchen? Because spending that money in order to do so is going to be a very tricky situation, because what ends up happening is, let's say I own the property, right, and I make no money in owning the property, and that's my business. How am I going to be able to then say, yeah, let me pay this person to go do the job of fixing the apartment, or I'm going to have to fix it myself, but how am I going to buy the materials and the equipment in order for me to fix it? Like, that's the part that like gets lost in translation, is that yes, these business owners and these property owners are making profits and revenue off of the properties, but when things go wrong and there's problems, they also take on the expenses that come along with it. And in order to cover those expenses, they need revenue and profit in order to cover for those. Because what ends up happening is, if I'm a business owner, think in my mind, okay, well, if I got to maintain this property, I'm going to do the bare minimum so that I can still sustain the life or the lifestyle that I have in order to do so. Because I don't have the incentive from the government, because they want to freeze my rents, freeze my profits, and my ability to make money. So it's going to make it even more difficult for me to want to pursue something or to ensure that everyone is being covered, that all the units are in tip-top shape. Like, it makes it very difficult.
2020, the owners of these buildings spiraled into bankruptcy and stopped making their mortgage payments because of unpaid rent. So people were getting free apartments and they didn't pay their rents, and the building fell into disrepair, and now the buildings are doomed. They probably don't have the money to pay the fines either.
The one city in America that was the hub for capitalism was New York City, until this one guy named Zoran Mamdani became mayor, and people said, nothing's gonna change. Everything's gonna be fine. This is gonna be great. Give the guy a chance. So what if he speaks the communist language and the socialist language? Nothing will change to the greatest city in America.
So what?
Well, last week, he goes out there and makes a video outside of Ken Griffin's house. Ken Griffin bought the most expensive penthouse in America, $250 million.
This
He
is
has
still
that kind of
causing
money.
massive
He's busted
problems.
in Chicago, Illinois, made his money, and right here, Mamdani made this video to call him out, and Ken Griffin responded to it at an event yesterday. Rob, we don't need to watch the whole thing, but we can watch the first 20 seconds. Go for it.
When I ran for mayor,
Can you imagine if somebody, a young 22-year-old, citizen journalist, YouTuber, went and made a video saying, that's where you live, okay? How would you feel? He lives here.
You'd be
this
done.
guy's rich. He lives here. Then imagine if this 22-year-old kid is not a 22-year-old kid, but is a 30-something-year-old mayor of the financial capital of the world, points at the penthouse of a guy that bought a property for $238 million.
Gee, I wonder what could go wrong in New York City if we start pointing out the enemies of the people, so to speak.
Billionaire Ken Griffin is slamming Mayor Mamdani for making him the poster boy for his campaign.
Listen, guys, I mean, at the end of the day, when you start to really push a narrative, like, you start to lose the actual plot and the goal that's at hand. If you're looking to ensure that people are able to get the services, people are able to get the things that they need, you need to have the backing of those that have the funds in order to do so. There's no way you're going to be able to do that if you do not have the support of those that have the funds in order to help you achieve those goals, right? Like, if I'm being targeted and I have funds, why would I want to align myself with the people that are targeting me, like directly targeting me? And it starts to cause for individuals to take actions in their own hands. You know, as we've seen the health and CEO of, I believe it was the Hale Health Insurance that got killed in New York, right? We have to start really analyzing, okay, people may start actually targeting me and start trying to take actions into their own hands. And it causes for the issue that I'm going to start running away. Why would I want to spend my money here when I'm the target? I'm prime suspect number one. How am I going to want to say, yeah, let me actually drop my funds in here so that they continue to target me and they know exactly where I am at all times? Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really benefit me, and I have no incentive in order to do so. So it causes for a lack of wanting to contribute to the culture, contribute to the city, and want to devote myself and say, you know what, let me actually put my funds into the city because they want me to, or they need the help and they're looking to benefit, right? So I think there are two ways that people are going to take action, right? One is by saying, you know what, if the city is working against me, then I am going to decide on not supporting the city and moving to another location that is going to support me. However, there is the other route in the way that people try and help the city, and that's by actually contributing to the city and allowing for, get back in focus because camera's struggling, allowing for me to contribute and actually help the city move forward because no one else is clearly doing so. And I think this next video is going to show how people can take action. But the worst part is that even if we do decide to take action, it still may have repercussions. So this video was covered by Abba and Preach, and it talks about someone that has helped the city in ways that people may not think to, and it's almost like a true example of saying, okay, everyone asks, what am I supposed to do? How can I help? I'm just this small one individual that's able to actually help the city. How can I really contribute? Like, there's no way that I contribute well enough to the society that's gonna make any change. Correct? So this video, however, demonstrates something that you can do, but watch how the city reacts to the things that this person has been doing. So let's get into it. Whoa. Just skip me all the way to there.
Potholes that the city neglected to fix for decades, causing millions and millions in damages to everyday citizens' vehicles.
It's not AI.
The crazy thing is that he's had negative reactions from the state. He could be ticketed, that he could potentially be jailed because if he does a bad job. They're like, isn't this such a crazy...
That is not AI. That exists for real. And you don't have... And peep game, you don't have to look for those. You don't find potholes. Potholes find you.
Like, this is a highway.
See, some of New York City's roads look just like this. And like... You know, there's certain parts of the country that are like a little bit ahead of us, or like you can kind of see where the trajectory of certain ideals can lead to. And I think this is definitely something that New York is definitely trending towards. And yeah.
The tire, look, the rim.
Look how deep these holes are.
What is that?
Whoa. Look at these craters. You're literally on the moon. It literally looks like you're on the moon right now. That is insane. Your whole jaw could just get folded just in one of those potholes. Just completely just, oh my gosh. You get caught on one of those, fly right out the sea. You kidding me?
How is this a road in a first world country?
I thought it was snow not picked up. It's the road.
And I'm not gonna lie, I did laugh a little bit when they're like, hey, he might do a bad, the city does a bad job. We pay your tax dollars and you guys do a fucking bad job.
The bar is in the realms. It's low.
The turnaround from when they pave over something and to when it fucks up again is so short. This is still our city. We live here. You know, we have to experience the streets. We have to deal with it. And the idea that someone's taking ownership and wants to fix things, I'm always going to say that because it's making the lives of everyone easier. But the idea that this man going around town, going around to all the most important parts of town, right? And he's like filling in these potholes.
Yeah,
that could get
right here.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to mute it just for a second here. But basically, his wife has a lot of mobility problems, and this was causing them issues because it was very difficult for them to get out. So he comes by and he fixed something. And this old man cannot believe it's going to happen right away this quickly. And so here he is. He fills it in. It takes him 10 minutes, costs him about $100.
$120.
Yeah. So
he's trying to pay him.
He's trying to pay him.
Nah.
I ain't never seen shit like this before in my whole life.
I have.
And
it was last year.
So in terms of construction, we pay $65,000 per kilometer of road work. That's 3 times the average of other major cities. And yet we get much worse quality corruption.
They're trying to demonize this guy like he's a problem. And I'm like, how dare you? Before you even have like the audacity to mention anything about this dude and the repercussions. Yo, go fucking clean out your closet. Go clean out all that mafia cum that y'all been storing back there. All them money-stained, Italian-sauced dollar bills y'all been spreading around.
Now, before he goes, he continues to start going crazy. I've actually been seeing some videos on like TikTok and Instagram where there are guys that would go around helping elderly people shovel snow or do their lawn or clear out their garages or whatever the task is, right? And you have individuals that would call them out or call the city or call the police in order to try and stop these people from doing a good deed to help those that like are looking to contribute to the community. And this is the issue that I think society is starting to face, where we really lost what community is. And if someone's coming in to help your community and actually do better for your community, I don't think personally you should be condemned or persecuted for wanting to do something like that, because then you're going to deter others from helping you out or wanting to help you out. It really makes it very difficult for you to want to say, yeah, let me go and do this job or do this work for somebody for free, or not get all the proper licensing, permitting, all this extra stuff, the barriers to entry that can easily be avoided. Now, don't get me wrong, safety concerns, things of that nature, that should be obviously monitored heavily. However, if you're going to do work that's just going to better the community, I don't see why that it needs to get condemned in the way that it does. But
around all the cutting of corn. Y'all cut so many corners, bitches a circle. Okay? Until y'all deal with that, I don't want to hear nothing about the material. The material he's using is better than fucking empty space. Okay? It is still exponentially better than driving over fucking air and fucking up everything. When I say this, it's not like, oh, you might damage your car. It's a hazard in terms of just danger. Bro, the roads are so fucking bad, he's just swerving to try to dodge them. Not paying attention sometimes to who's beside them, but I ain't mad at them because the hole they're approaching is so fucking big that if they go into it, they're gonna fuck themselves up. So now you got people swerving, causing car accidents, harming other people.
What pisses me off is that whenever you do any modification with your car, you change the pipe, you change the power of your car, and the police stops you, you get a fine. Why? Because your car is deemed unsafe. Bitch, the road I'm riding on is not safe. The road that I'm rolling on with my car that I paid taxes on, with the wage that I already paid taxes on the road that I paid taxes on, with my driver's license that I paid taxes on that is not safe.
So now comes the hustle. Because you saw how mad they got with this man for filling in the holes and doing the whole city a service, okay? So he's...
Can't even put a tint on your front windshield in New York. How about y'all worry about the potholes that are in New York, okay? How about y'all worry about, the homeless people that are on the streets in New York, okay? Rather than worrying about my tent, bro. Get out of here.
Fixing a problem that the government is dragging its feet on. Montreal contractors often submit lowball bids to win contracts and then compensate those bids with corner-cutting repaving techniques that fail to meet quality standards the city's inspector general has found. So this is not an opinion, this is not a vibe. No, when we've looked into it, all we found is corruption. And I don't think like just a minor amount. They've taken the mayor of one of the northern part of the city and sent him to jail because they found that for 15 years he was embezzling money to offer specific groups contracts. And they found out those specific groups had ties to the mafia.
His friends.
Whoa! Organized crime groups have realized they can't operate in open. So a lot of them have found ways to have fronts on the legal side, and they operate very quietly. And construction here is basically run by a lot of corrupt people who want to cut corners and organized crime. They're going to...
Well, you see, I also think that, not only is it potential corruption or politicians that are trying to leverage their power in order to make extra money. I do think it's that to a degree, but I also think you see, it kind of almost works hand in hand where the policy that you're putting in place almost forces you to assign, particular contracts for certain things or assign for funding to go into certain areas. And then, it starts to affect the city in other ways that are small, that can, build up incrementally, and you can kind of slightly ignore from time to time unless it's causing like a major emergency threat or risk. And that's where I think it starts to become very gray area, because now you're like, okay, if you sense that the city has been moving in this way for this long and this period of time, even with, let's say, a potential rotation of politicians, how do you even get out of that loop? Like, that's the overall question, is that how do you get out of that so that the city can start turning into the right direction? And I think it starts to come down to the base of what the city is about, because, especially for something like New York, it has so much potential, has so much capitalistic potential, that like it doesn't make sense that we're trying to rely on the state and the government in order to push the needle and move forward, right? But if the government is starting to work against you, putting policies in places that can build incrementally, right, against you, it starts to become a problem, and you start to work with one hand behind your back, and you're like, well, how am I going to try and navigate this? So I either have two options. I can try and fight with my one hand, or I can leave. And those are the two options. If you have the ability to leave, many are starting to do so. So
constantly do a fucked up job on these roads. They're going to use poor quality stuff that's going to break, and then they're going to get the bid again to fix it. And so you're never going to get improvement, and you're going to constantly legally siphon out money out of everyday people.
Everyday people. I love the fact that, this country and this province specifically got a love relationship with gangs. A love-hate. Well, they hate gangs when they wear baggy pants, right? But they sure love the other ones with suit and tie. They re-elect them. And it's not something that is new. That's been going on for like last 5 years. It's been going on. I'm talking decades. And it's been going worse and worse. It's just that now we're kind of at a breaking point. Breaking points.
Welcome to Breaking Points with Crystal and Sagar.
So they did a giant investigation into these people. They had wiretaps, video cameras. I want y'all to see just how old school. This shit look like it's straight out of Sopranos, okay? Isn't this so fucking old? You think the mob is gone, but it's still existing. So you see what's happening there? He's going into his sock. What is he pulling out? He's pulling out a wad of cash to pay off the mob member. And so what they did is they had recordings of these guys doing these payoffs, and they would all do it sneakily. They didn't know they were on cameras. But they had this, and they used this in the inquiry when they released a report on this whole issue. They had something called the Charbonneau Report. So this guy's name is Lino Zambito. So you already can tell, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
the neck grease, the name, okay, crime.
I'm gonna let you guys go check that video out. But listen, I mean, we all want to say that, the government is not up to this, that, it's not getting to this point. Like, it's really not getting to this movie-esque level of crime and fraud and just deception in the cities, right? But we want to also keep in mind that there is still the reality of like what could be at play, right? What a lot of these cities are starting to show us in terms of the results that it's producing, and what we have to deal with on a daily basis. Because at the end of the day, you really have to start thinking, okay, well, if I'm going out every day into work and these potholes are causing for issues, damages, and just headache along your life while you're still having to pay taxes to the city, while you're still trying to fund your lifestyle and just live your day to day and want to enjoy life and have those goals that you want to set forth for yourself, but there's those small inconveniences that come about every time you move about the city, every time you go to work, every time you even come home from work and want to go enjoy that life, it starts to build up, and you have to start, opening up that consciousness and say, how can I start to actually affect and benefit the city so that I can avoid being in these inconvenient positions? Or do I potentially go the other direction? Because at the end of the day, there's going to come a point where the city may cause for you to put yourself in a deeper hole, right? One bad accident, one bad injury, one bad situation that ends up from violence in the city, can put you in a deep hole, and now you have to make a bigger life decision. So which route do you take? Do you try to avoid taking that chance in that city for that deep hole, or do you try and change things? But there's a lot of ways that people get into debt, and there's a lot of ways that not only the city, but sometimes us as individuals can cause for debt to be a part of our situation. And this is a video regarding how some of the addictions that people have can cause for higher levels of debt that you can't even comprehend and really fully understand how they get to this point. Like, what makes you reach this point to where you're putting yourself in this much debt for this addiction? Because you really just like, what? How do you do this? And the next video that we're going to be discussing is actually going to be highlighting that. And that is going to be right. Disney adults are actually insane. Now, as I said, before I preface this, there's something that you have to like really just take time to think about and say, if you call yourself openly a Disney adult, what does that like really say about my mindset? Like, why am I considering myself an adult that does everything and idolizes Disney? Like, what am I missing to say, like, yes, I'm a Disney adult? Now, I could say I watched Disney growing up and I enjoy Disney content and all these things, but for me to call myself a Disney adult, that's where you start to lose me a little bit. But let's get into the video and see what's happening.
All the children. The Disney parks are now filled with adults getting drunk in bars, eating thousands of calories worth of snacks, TikTokers taking pictures in the women's bathrooms, and worst of all, putting themselves into massive amounts of debt to go to Disney parks. Disney parks are now filled with some of the most cringe individuals to walk the planet, also known as Disney adults. There's countless videos on YouTube which criticize Disney adults for the way they act like children and are really cringe. And while that's interesting to explore, and I'll definitely make another video on the cringe side, I want to look at Disney adults from another perspective. What is the financial cost of being a Disney adult? From over-consumerism, having to buy every single product Disney releases, every single limited edition piece of merch, to the limited edition must-eat snacks to try at every park, and even the...
I mean, those turkey legs are pretty good, though. Can't lie, those turkey legs are pretty good.
cost of just getting into the parks. How on earth do these people afford it?
This couple, they spent $21,000 in 1 month when they make $7,000 a month. They're obsessed with Disney. Lots of Disney adults are. They spent $2,000 on Disney exclusive.
Okay. $21,000 a month. How do you even do that? What are you spending money on in Disney that can lead to $21,000 a month? Like, honestly, I know there's ways to spend $21,000 a month, especially in this economy, but to be able to do that at Disney is a level of I guess not impressive because everything is expensive in Disney, but it's a level of like, how are you able to sleep at night knowing that you just spent in a full month $21,000 at Disney World, and you don't even cover a third? You barely cover a third of that. You don't actually. You cover what, a third of it actually for $7,000 a month? Like, how do you like?
passes and then went to Disney World, spent a lot of money on that. Then they're going to Disney World 2 times next month and then 1 time in the summer.
That's a lot of money on Disney.
But unlike most lesbians, I think they're going to last forever though, because they're on the same page. And usually couples that aren't on the same page about money, that's where they divorce. Them, they're on the same page about wanting to ruin their lives for Disney.
Before we look at the insane costs of Disney, we need to take a step back and understand how the parks themselves got to be so expensive in the first place. 40 years ago, trips to Disney were easy and pretty affordable for the average family. All you'd have to think about was your ticket, a hotel if you wanted to stay for a few days, and whatever food you fancied eating at the park. Going to Disney today, however, is a totally different story. It's a stack of microtransactions that add up, leaving guests broke by the time they leave, checking their bank accounts and being horrified with the amount of...
Are you gonna resell that, or is that just gonna hop on your shelf? Like, I'm not saying you don't buy things, but dang,
money they've ended up
just
spending. A
unloading the
Disney World
clip on.
ticket in 1971 cost $3.50, and if inflation were the only factor, it would cost around $27 today. But now, a one-day ticket starts at $189. Making Disney more expensive has been a key strategic goal by the company.
So Disney tripled its profits even based on inflation, just on the ticket alone. Like, that's not crazy. Like, how are you? You see, my main concern with this, right, is that, like, okay, they 3x'd their tickets, their ticket price, well, 6x their ticket prices, but even when you went to figure out a trip back in that time, like, at most you were spending was, let's say, $100 for food, gas, hotel, and in like 1 or 2 days at Disney. And that's being like generous. And now you're probably spending at least, just to, let's say, remove travel expenses, and you're like relatively close to Disney, and you still got the food at Disney plus potential lodging if you stay like more than a day. You're easily spending like $2,000. Because let's say you buy a ticket for you, or if you're doing a family ticket, family is just, I mean, you're cooked with a family. But you buy a ticket for you for $200. Then you get your lodging for the night for another $200. Then you have the drinks and food that you'd be getting, probably another $200. And then I'm assuming if you're going to be buying trinkets and stuff, and the price of those trinkets are like $30 each minimum, you're probably spending another, probably like $200. So maybe not 2,000, but that's without any travel and very limited lodging. So $1,000 for a day at Disney, and that's just for yourself.
Conveniently amplified by the term Disney adult growing in popularity around 2015. The trending term instantly became a meme, with people laughing at their own obsession with Disney. From bawling their eyes out from meeting their favourite characters.
Pooh, I've waited 30 years to meet you.
What? 30 years? What are you talking about? 30 years? Like, there's no way that, like, that's like saying you see Santa Claus at the mall and being like, oh my God, Santa! Been 30 years. I've been trying to meet you. I got so much I need to tell you. Why you put me on the naughty list? Like, what? What are we doing?
I love you my whole life.
To their insane collections of toys and Disney merch.
The girls that get it, and the girls that don't.
There was one very important thing that Disney realized that these obsessive adult fans had that the kids do not, and that was money. As the parks expanded and people were willing to spend more, Disney piled on extra charges since 2016, and they didn't seem to be stopping. Dynamic pricing, paid parking, individual lightning lane, Fast Pass Plus, paid
Forgot
ride.
about all that stuff. Oh, I forgot about parking. What is individual lighting? What the heck is that? Lane per ride? Why would you be paying for per ride? Wait, what? I haven't been to Disney in so long.
Held on extra charges since 2016, and they didn't seem to be stopping. Dynamic pricing, paid parking, individual lightning lane, Fast Pass Plus, paid ride reservations, special event reservations, dining plans, photo pass, all while removing free services like the free Fast Pass and the free airport transport services. When you take a look at how these services increase the price so dramatically, it's actually pretty scary. Dynamic pricing works by increasing the price when there's more demand for a ticket. School holidays and peak times were at least double the price as usual. The Fast Pass Plus also uses dynamic pricing, so if the park is extremely busy and the rides are popular, the price for the Fast Pass Plus will be too. Dropping $500 for a Fast Pass is genuinely insane, and it's only for one day too.
Whoa, buddy. Oh, pump the brakes. So in order for me to not even really get to the front of the line, because I'm assuming that if there's that many people, you're probably still going to be waiting at least, let's say most 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, right? On each ride, you're still waiting. By the time at the end of the day, you're still waiting for about like 4 or 5 hours. Obviously, compared to what you'd be waiting without it, is probably way less significant. But, guys, that is insane. $500? You know you can do with $500? I mean, at this point, this time, maybe not, but like still, just to get to the front of the line? Nah, dog. Not catching me.
It actually costs more than the ticket itself. But the sad thing is, because the parks are so busy, you pretty much have to buy the fast passes.
Like, look at that. Hold on. That line by itself, and like those.
And it's only for one day too. It actually costs more than the ticket itself. But the sad,
like, yo, that thing. And the worst part is, this is like the front. This right here is technically considered the front of the line. Because this is going to go all the way back here, and then there's another loop back here, and there's probably another loop that takes you all the way to the back. And one side is the fast pass, and one side is the... Bro. It's literally just saying pay $500 to stand over here, or pay nothing to stand over here. And these people are definitely going to get on the rides, while these people may get on the ride.
thing is, because the parks are so busy, you pretty much have to buy the fast passes unless you only want to go on 3 or 4 rides and wait in queues for hours. From an English perspective, this concept is pretty insane. Like, yeah, we do have fast passes at UK theme parks, but you can get them for like £10 at parks like Thorpe Park and Alton Towers. And I get they might not be as busy as Disney World, but is it really worth the £500 difference? And I think it's worth mentioning that it's actually optional to have fast passes at theme parks. Several European parks outright refuse to use them because from a moral perspective, they don't believe that you should be able to skip a queue because you're richer than some other person, or more willing to go into debt to get them. 2 European theme parks, Bellewaerde and Efteling, say that they don't offer fast passes because we don't wish to give anyone preferential treatment. To be honest, it is a complete money grab by Disney, so they can get more guests into the park and have a payable option to skip the queues. And because the queues are so long, buying a fast pass is just as important as buying a ticket now. It's basically unavoidable if you want to spend more time on the rides and waiting in the queues. All of these additional costs slowly add up, forcing guests to spend more without even realizing it, adding to their Disney debt. Even though the list of additional charges that Disney's added over the past 10 years are absolutely insane, there's something else that Disney has incorporated that changed the game forever. For over 40 years, you couldn't have alcohol at a lot of Disney's parks, with a few exceptions of course. But flash forward to now, and alcohol is one of the big reasons Disney adults come to the parks. Since this shift, it's clear Disney now caters to their adult fans, offering an absolutely insane variety of alcoholic drinks available in all of the parks. But it's not just a few cocktails.
Don't they have the trend of the Disney around the world, where you drink at all the countries that are in Disney, and you can try all their alcoholic beverages to see, you know, if you can survive the Disney run around the world? Like, that is crazy. That is crazy. I mean, it's smart though. I mean, you're going to be targeting the people with the money. Now, the real question is, okay, so you have those that are going to Disney World and they're adults. Probably most of them are either single adults going to Disney World. And even if they are couples, they are probably not with children. So you completely change the model of the amusement park, and this is why they're able to leverage so much money out of it. Because when you're going to Disney and you're going on your own, you can just reap the repercussions on your own in terms of the funds that you spend as well as the indulgence that you do. However, if you're going with children, you can't go as often because it's more people that you have to pay for, and you're probably not going to be able to indulge in the same way that you would if you were by yourself. So the fact that society has encouraged, you know, individuals to potentially not have children, and we can see that across global and especially national records, that the population has begun to decline. So if it's just more and more adults with less and less children going to Disney World, they're going to focus on the adults that can spend the money because they're by themselves and they have the money to spend. When you go to a Disney with a kid, you gotta, you know, buy their churro, buy their little toy that they want, you know, all their food, all the other foods and drinks, plus their ability to actually get on the rides. And then if you're talking about actually getting on a sufficient number of rides, that fast pass is going to become very important. So this just becomes insane.
Here and there, and they've even developed a famous drinking game in Epcot known as Drinking Around the World, where guests spend up to 6 hours on a bar crawl through 8 themed countries, each with a cocktail inspired by the place they're in.
Yep. I know many of you have seen this already.
Let's take a ride and spend the day in the
Why are you riding on your arm,
The
though?
times are here to stay. We'll get away and have a perfect picnic.
Aside from the
Wait,
awful
was
audio,
that
you
the
get the point here.
characters?
Disney is
what is
catering more
happening?
towards Disney adults, who have a lot more money to spend than the children. And as a quick side note, I really hope that tattoo was fake because that is extremely embarrassing. But not only is this drinking game at Epcot great for getting people to spend over $200 on drinks alone if they complete the challenge, but selling alcoholic drinks is much more lucrative than sodas alone. A
Oh yeah, of
Coke or a
course.
juice for a child probably costs around $4, but a cocktail is closer to $20. The markup on these drinks is easy because the margins are so high. It definitely doesn't cost $20 to make a cocktail, but guests will happily pay for it because it's Disney
They're at
themed.
Disney.
Serving
Yep.
alcohol also changes who comes to Disney and why. Instead of it for being for kids' birthdays or special occasions for kids, it's now a place for adult-only holidays and stag or hen do's, or bachelor parties, I think, to my American subscribers. There's even been entire Reddit threads talking about the alcohol consumption in Disney, with one person saying, it went from being a family-friendly experience to being a mob of drunk, dehydrated, aggressive who behave worse than hungry children. Alcohol also encourages guests to stay longer, spending more time in the bars and restaurants.
Now that I'm thinking about it too, right? If you go to Disney and someone's drunk on a ride, all that spinning and stuff. I mean, I know Disney's rides aren't too crazy, but there's definitely enough rides to make you even more nauseous while drunk. And then you have to stand in line for like an hour or two in order to get on the ride. That's a little crazy. That sounds like a bad combination all the way around. Just drunk, especially dehydrated, because these people are probably not buying water. The water's probably $4 by itself, and you're like, man, I'm spending $4, I could just get another drink. And that's when you go down the rabbit hole, and then you gotta buy like a $20 turkey leg. And then you gotta buy, some fries and actual food. Like, that's just a whole terrible combination.
Conveniently buy more food. I don't know about you, but when I've had a drink, I get absolutely starving. And it seems like Disney knows this too. And what better way to take advantage of all those slightly buzzed or just straight up drunk guests than the largest selection of snacks in the world, littered across almost every path in the park. At Disney, trying the snacks are just as important as going on the rides and meeting the characters. The snacks are also ridiculously expensive, often between $10 to $20 for one thing. And the most ridiculous thing that I found was literally a stick with one piece of bacon on it for $10.
Who's calling it?
No.
Who's calling that shit?
No way. A stick of bacon? You can get a bacon, egg, and cheese on a roll. With a bev? Actually. With a bev. I don't know if you can get the chips and stuff anymore. The bacon, egg, and cheese has got a little expensive now, but for that same stick of bacon. What? That doesn't even make any sense. Why would you get that?
Who's calling that shit?
The snacks are already expensive, but slap a Mickey shape on there and you instantly pay more for just a shape.
Some basic theme park snacks that happen to be Mickey shaped and then cost $5 million. You'll spend almost $8 on a Mickey pretzel that is just okay, so I recommend instead spending that money on the Pepper Jack pretzel at Cheshire Cafe. It's a warm pretzel stuffed with gooey pepper jack cheese, and it's just way more worth it in my opinion. 2, Mickey bars are obviously iconic, but they're $6 for a basic chocolate ice cream bar. So instead, you can get a fresh single scoop of ice cream at Plaza Ice Cream Parlor with Mickey ears for $4.99.
But it's not just one or two snacks that guests are having in the parks, as they're often spending over $50 on just snacks alone, and not even considering the main meals that they'll be having throughout the day.
This is a work of art. 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 But this is a work of art.
Couples going to the parks together will often be spending over $100 every day just on snacks, as it's just simply too much to try. Disney creates FOMO over snacks, calling them must-try to create scarcity, and they often change seasonally. Once they're gone, and they don't come back. So if guests are there, they feel like they need to try it all there and then. They're obviously all themed too, so Disney adults need to try them because the food is from their favorite shows. Who cares if they can't afford it? They can just use the credit cards to buy them. As we're talking about Disney adults, it wouldn't feel right to not mention the plus-size park hoppers, and they're just as popular for their food recommendations as they are for their controversial "if I fit, I sit" videos, which I have covered before on the channel.
Hey everyone, we're plus size park hoppers, and this is everything we ate in a day as plus size best friends at Disney's Magic Kingdom. We started our day by having lunch at the Plaza restaurant on Main Street. We find that the food tastes better than any of the quick service options available at Magic Kingdom, and it's pretty affordable.
Sweetheart, that's fries with green onions, maybe some mayonnaise or sour cream, cheese, and maybe some bacon or something. That's the best food that you found?
Too. Katie started off with the Plaza loaded fries, which can be made gluten-free. These come with melted cheddar, bacon, green onion, and spicy sour cream. Ashley and
Trust me, guys. Listen. That right there was a little fat of me. I can't lie. And trust me, I did not watch this. And that was a little crazy. But how is that the best eats, though? And those loaded fries look weak.
I both got the triple-decker turkey club sandwich. This sandwich is really good, and it's our go-to every time we go. We also thought that the portion was pretty big for the price. Katie got the Chipotle barbecue pork sandwich with a gluten-free bun. And for dessert, she had a strawberry milkshake. Later on that day, Katie got the Aurora cone, but without a cone to make it gluten-free from Storybook Treats. And Ashley and I split the candied bacon skewer from Westward Ho. This was the perfect combination of salty and sweet, and also, who doesn't love a snack on a stick? Before we left the park, we were thirsty for ice cream, so Katie headed over to Aloha Isle and got the coconut pineapple Dole Whip. Then Ashley and I headed over to the Plaza Ice Cream Parlor. We each got the All-American Sundae, which is one of our favorite sweet treats in Magic Kingdom. If you're a fan of chocolate and peanut butter, then this is the ice cream for you. When we got back to Saratoga Springs, we headed to the Artist Palette for dinner. Ashley and I both got the shrimp with green beans and mashed potatoes, which was pretty good for a quick service dinner. Katie got the chicken and rice bowl, but we accidentally forgot to record it. And then we ended our night in the hot tub.
Focusing just on what Katie eats, because she is one of the biggest people there, and I'm not trying to bully her, but she eats nearly 5,000 calories worth of food and snacks at the park in a single day.
Katie had like 3 things of ice cream. Like, listen, I'm not even gonna get into that because that is just crazy. So no wonder, like, a lot of these, you just got people indulging, just like, at this point it has to be a point of just greed. Like, there's no way that you're eating that much in one day and then returning back to the park continuously to spend those prices for items that are cheaper outside of the park. Just because it's Mickey Mouse themed? Like, come on, guys. What, like...
Even including what you'll have been eating before or after the video. This food came to over $50 as well, which is just so expensive for one day, especially with the majority of it being from snacks. Now, I totally agree, when you're at Disney, you should eat whatever you want, because it's a treat and you probably won't go again for a few years. I mean, even I did a 10k calorie challenge and I won't be doing one again anytime soon, but the plus size park hoppers seem to be going to a park every week. This isn't cheap, nor is it healthy. Now, the plus size park hoppers do have a social media presence, so they might be able to afford this, but normal Disney adults are doing this too. They're going to Disney way more than they can afford and eating way more than they can afford to. They're so consumed by Disney that they totally let themselves go wild and have no boundaries when it comes to indulging and consuming whatever they want, whether it's food, merchandise, or going to the parks multiple times a year. And for all of these reasons that we've looked at, it's no wonder why so many people have gone into debt just to be able to go to Disney.
Guys, I'm gonna let you continue to watch that video. Check it out. It's definitely a good one. But yeah, this indulgence is crazy. Like, I don't even understand how you think that going there, like, you can get so much more at other places. That going to Disney World and spending that kind of money on themed items that looked pretty basic to me, like it did not look like anything that was outstanding that you couldn't find at, let's say, a fast food restaurant, or even at like a Chili's or those medium restaurants where you'll get your food pretty fast. It's relatively good quality eats for a deal. Like, that's what it looked like. A lot of that food just looked like stuff that you can get at those mid-size, franchise restaurants that, you know, great food, great, decent quality food for a good deal, and you're spending what, twice as much on just basic things that you can get a whole meal for the same price. Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And you really start to lose me when it comes to this. And the indulgence is just getting to a point where it's just like, wow, how? How? But, to stick on Disney and just a lot of these companies that are trying to persuade us to spend more money and to really get us to, like, just completely just blow our bank accounts, and don't provide the same qualities and things that they used to, in order to make you actually want to pay for the services that they're providing, is what we're going to talk about in this next video. Now, in terms of quality, there are a lot of the current major corporations that are making things, and you're starting to just see a decrease in that quality. But there's also starting to become this shift from being able to own something and license something or stream something, right? So this is what the video is going to talk about. It's going to be comparing buying wrong video. Buying versus owning. Or if buying isn't owning, pirate is stealing. Piracy is stealing. So let's get into it. All right.
Routinely villainized as a direct economic threat to creators and the entertainment industry, as if it's the real culprit behind the lack of funding, loss of jobs, and declining innovation. The reality is that piracy does not surge in healthy markets. It sets sail when greed and corruption decide that culture itself can only exist for those who can afford it. During the late 1990s, just 6 major record labels controlled over 75% of the entire music industry, granting them power to inflate CD prices, dictate which artists received exposure, and severely suppressed artist earnings. In an extensive industry-wide investigation, the Federal Trade Commission estimated that consumers were overcharged roughly $480 million as these labels pressured retail chains into marketing agreements that prohibited advertising discounts below fixed prices. And while the labels were eventually fined $143 million in 2002, they still walked away having profited by more than $300. While piracy is routinely villainized as a direct economic threat to creators and the entertainment industry, as if it's the real culprit behind the lack of funding, loss of jobs, and declining innovation, the reality is that piracy does not surge in healthy markets. It sets sail when greed and corruption decide that culture itself can only exist for those who can afford it. During the late 1990s, just 6 major record labels controlled over 75% of the entire. Despite the fact that these were the same firms that had just walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars in profits from illegal CD price fixing. And while high-profile artists such as Metallica, Dr. Dre, and Eminem publicly framed Napster as theft that undermined artistic control, many smaller and independent artists expressed it as an escape from industry gatekeeping. Throughout the late 80s and 90s, major record labels illegally routed between $60 and $80 million a year in cash and incentives to radio program directors to secure playlist placement, inflating the popularity of label-backed releases while suppressing independent competition. Groups such as Dispatch later credited Napster for the organic
Let me see. Way into that. I'm actually gonna let you guys take a look at this video. I think it might be a little bit long with the time that we've been live for. I think I probably want to transition into something a little less in depth. We may go highlight that topic um, sooner rather than later, but I did want to actually speak upon the issue that was, and I think I can end on this one, where I had gotten kind of yoinked off on the last live stream in terms of the clavicular incident and how that is causing, or how his life is getting impacted heavily and severely at this point ever since he has started his channel and what's been kind of going on at this point.
Being permanently banned on YouTube on several accounts and getting hit with a potential career-ending lawsuit alleging battery and fraud. And unfortunately for him, he live streamed himself doing half of what the lawsuit is alleging. And after talking to a couple lawyers about it, they're very certain this will trigger a criminal investigation. And again, this comes on top of the already chaotic stretch that included, you know, the live overdose in front of thousands of viewers, his management team walking out, some serious issues with his friends and family, and then on top of everything, losing all 3 of his YouTube channels. Meaning, the dude has to...
Now, it's kind of crazy how you can have the mindset of, and this is what I kind of highlighted in the previous live stream, but you're having the mindset of maximizing your looks, right? And focusing so heavy on your looks because that is the best way in order to gain the most leverage within society, because everything becomes easier when you look better, right? And there's obviously some truth to that to a certain degree. However, there has to come a point where taking things to the extreme are going to affect you sooner rather than later, right? And I think a lot of people have been telling him that the methods that he has been using has been causing for a major effect in his health, in the potential health of future young adults, and how it's not going to just impact you now, but like you're going to be limiting your future, because you're going to put yourself in severe conditions that cause for your health to decline. It calls for your interactions with other people to decline because you're so focused on maximizing your looks. And it also causes for that financial incentive to get impacted because you're doing things to the extreme. Whenever you do things that are slightly extreme or can get built up to a point where you are unable to maintain the extreme forms of that situation, you're going to see the repercussions a lot sooner. And I think not only does this affect look maxing, but it also affects the individuals who are, let's say, doing the live streams, right? And they're trying to cause, or the nuisance streams as they call it, where they're trying to cause damage to properties, businesses, annoy those properties and businesses, cause pranks on those properties and businesses, and they eventually end up dead or in prison because you're putting yourself in these extreme conditions, in these very extreme high intensity situations that will lead you into a position where you're hurting yourself physically, or you're going to be getting into legal trouble, as we're going to go through in this video. So when we watch individuals on YouTube, on TikTok, on social media, we have to really keep in mind that those that are doing the extremes, like, it does not benefit you in the long run. And if you want to hit that life expectancy that humans are generally statistically starting to hit 75, 80, potentially 90 years old, as medicine and technology get better, as you get older, it's going to get better, right? If you want to start hitting those life expectancies, you can't be taking your life to the extreme. And I understand the whole YOLO principle and scenario, but you're also affecting those that are around you. It's not just about you sometimes, you know? A lot of times it's really not just about you, and you need to understand that you're going to be affecting all those people around you. So
stream to stay relevant now and keep his career, but with everything going on outside of his stream, that could prevent him from doing so. And his most recent trouble comes from a lawsuit that was filed in Florida on April 29, 2026, and this was filed by an influencer by the name of Alexandra Mendoza, who's also known as Alora Siva. According to the lawsuit, Alexandra first met Clavicular when she was 16 years old, and he allegedly paid her $1,000 to film content with him in May of 2025, framing it around the idea of making her the female face of looks maxing. She says that he sent an Uber to bring her to his parents' house in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, where a party was happening, and the lawsuit claims alcohol was flowing heavily at the house and she got drunk. So from there, things allegedly went downhill, and she claims that after she got drunk and was in no position to consent, Braden was allegedly intimate with her, and even further alleges that she woke up to the following morning to him doing so again without her consent. And after that, the two apparently didn't speak for months, and when they eventually ran into each other again, Alexandra says that she still believed
it's just like, this is part of the things that you put yourself in the position. Like, what do you, how do you even, and this is something that a lot of young men have to keep in mind nowadays as well, because listen, social media is something that is really not necessarily beneficial to you unless you're using it for business purposes or trying to grow a company or something that can actually help you in the future, right? Because what ends up happening is a lot of these people are just telling on themselves and causing for situations that just lead to more and more chaos in your life. Like I mean, there has been situations that, you know, in high school that I had even been, I'd heard of, you know, within the school. And I'm like, you guys really put yourself in that kind of position where if this thing comes to bite you back later on in life, like that's not a good look. That's not a good look, right? So you have to really analyze, especially at a young age, because the track record, especially on the internet, the track record that, you know, could follow you later on in life, and this is the impact that happens later on in life. If you just do things with the YOLO mindset, like I only live once, like this is my time, this is my, you know, scenario that I'm gonna want to live, like you're going to be putting yourself in more and more danger early on that can then, even if you do end up living into your later years, can really affect you in the long term. And it's like, how are we not keeping these kind of things in mind when we're doing things?
that he could help with her career. So she accepted an invite to a streaming session, and this is when she alleges that Clavicular, at some point during the stream, injected her face with a fat dissolving compound called Aqualix, live on camera. And I mean, there's clips of this online. Now, if it really was the thing they said it was, nobody really knows for sure, except for them. So obviously this was live on camera, and she's saying without her permission and without him holding any medical license to perform such a procedure. And apparently he was also implying that the Walter White special had also been added to the injection, which is crazy if that's true as well.
Dude, I can already see a clip. Clav injects.
Chat, we're looks maxing her. We're looks maxing her. It's all good. Dr. Clav? Yeah.
But obviously, Clavicular is no doctor. He's not having her sign consent forms and liability waivers to let him do this. So clearly, that live stream clip does not help his case whatsoever. And Alexandra said even though she continued seeing him because she still believed that he was working to help her career, that turned out to not be the case, as she claims that he eventually ran what she described as a campaign to damage her reputation, which she says cost her sponsorships. And the lawsuit lists battery, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and unauthorized use of her name and likeliness amongst its claims, and seeking damages of more than $50,000. His attorney, Steve Kramer, responded to the lawsuit by saying that they're aware of the complaint recently filed against Clav. However, he says that these are allegations only and remain unproven. Mr. Peters denies the claims and disputes the characterization of the events. He will respond through the appropriate legal channels and intends to vigorously defend himself, adding that they will not comment further at this time. And shortly after this lawsuit became public, Clavicular was also reportedly dropped by Stake, as he put out a statement on his Discord saying there is no Stake leaderboard anymore, we canceled it. And one
So here's something that I want to tell those that may not be familiar with a lot of the live streaming platforms, Kick and stuff like that. So Kick is essentially a streaming platform that has allowed for, that's where most of like the nuisance streamers, those with very extreme ideals, tend to stay, because it's a little bit of a smaller platform. However, it's growing to a certain degree, and it allows for them to do kind of whatever they want. There's not as many terms and conditions, especially compared to YouTube, as well as Twitch, even though Twitch has its own flaws currently. But YouTube is probably the most constricted terms and agreements policies that it has in order to be able to stream, right? So with that being said, if you're going to have higher terms and agreements and conditions in order to stream on the platform, that means that you're going to have higher standards for those that can get sponsorships, ads, and as well as deals on YouTube, right? So you're not going to be sponsoring immoral things and things that don't necessarily align with your company's agendas, policies, and ideologies. However, Kick, on the other hand, is a more open-minded, free, less restrictions, no holds bar, wild wild west kind of streaming platform, and they are endorsed by Stake, and Stake is a gambling company, right? So if you're getting your endorsement money from the gambling company and the streaming platform that is sponsored by the gambling company, then you kind of see where I'm going with this. His money is going to start to dry up unless he's able to maintain a streaming regiment in order to sustain his life while going through this lawsuit. So slowly and surely his funds will begin to start to deteriorate because he's going through a lawsuit. He has to still stream because that's his only form of revenue since he got booted off of YouTube. At least on YouTube, you could potentially put up videos individually outside of your live streams, which is what I will probably be doing in order for those that may not be able to catch the live stream. You know, you put the video on YouTube, right? You let that, build the views, build the comments, build the attention, and you start to build the revenue in that way. So at least you may be getting revenue from your previous content, or even, some of the new drops that you would have from your live stream that people weren't able to see at the time that you were live. So now you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the company that endorses your streaming platform doesn't endorse you anymore. You have to stream on that platform and rely on donations and whatever the streaming platform provides you in terms of finances. Granted, he does have, certain people on retainer in order to keep his attention up on certain platforms like Kick, TikTok, Instagram, because he gets a lot of those clippable moments. But dealing with a lawsuit on top of all of this is going to impact his ability to produce at a high level. And it's just going to continue to constrain. And as we just saw earlier, he just had an overdose, right? So now you're telling me you've just recently came off an overdose, right? And you have these constraints financially now. how is that level of stress going to affect you in order to even stream, as well as in order to just sustain yourself within all this craziness? These are what extremes get you. This is what pushing yourself to the limit really gets you.
You could only assume that would be a
And the worst part is his popularity, like his peak popularity, at least in terms of when I've actually discovered him, has only been for about a year. Like, I think I remember seeing a video or two of him, and like, honestly, for me, it might have even been shorter than that. It might have been like maybe 6 months, because I think the first video that I think I saw of him was maybe October of 2025. So I'm thinking it was really only 6 months as to when I actually found out who he was, and looks maxing and all of that stuff actually becoming like a legitimate issue trend. I think that's maybe when he started doing his first news interview. I'm not sure. But in only a year, you went from being the looks maxer guy, pumping yourself with drugs, partying all the time, getting all the girls, doing craziness, to potentially ending up in jail for a long time.
major financial source of income for him. And even though these are only allegations, and of course, none of it has been proven, some parts of the filing describe behavior that Alexandra says that she witnessed firsthand. One example is her claim that before the stream began, she once saw Clavicular and a group of others using a white powdery substance, which she says she immediately declined when it was offered to her. Now, the reason that detail kind of stands out is
the fact that you mentioned Cybertruck, it also reminded me of something for this kid. He actually ran somebody over on stream with his car and just proceeded to keep driving after clearly running somebody over with his car. Like, this is the kind of guy that's trying to teach your kids to maximize their looks. Because you have to keep in mind, I mean, granted, it is on Kick, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the younger minds to get a hold of it. But I know there's a lot of preteens and teenagers that are on the internet that are definitely watching these nuisance streams, as well as these guys like Clavicular, and are taking those ideologies and like, yeah, like I gotta make sure I do this. I gotta leverage this because of this, that, and the third. And seeing around what's going on in society, relationships, socially, and how men are treated, these young boys are like, well, I gotta make sure I looks max, bro. I gotta make sure I just maximize everything now, because what's gonna matter in 10, 15 years? I'll be able to outgrow it. I'll be able to do what I gotta do as long as I get all my successes now. Where it's really about the journey and how you build upon your journey in order to get to the point of success where you can properly enjoy it, right? But the mindset that it has to be right now, I have to maximize everything right now, is what leads you to, after a year of being on top of the world, to now potentially under the world in jail. Like, it's not good.
creates a natural link for more recent public footage involving Clavicular, as just a few weeks ago, Clavicular and his friends, including another looks-maxing TikToker, were walking around a mall area in Brickell, Miami, IRL streaming. Clavicular definitely seemed off. His speech was very slurry, and he was definitely struggling to pull off conversations.
Holy what's up, man? How are you? What's up, man? Holy sure. What's it say? 100%. Guess no.
Can you take it?
Can I take it? Sorry, I can't even.
Homeboy is cooked. Homeboy is so cooked.
I'm absolutely gone.
Then kept repeating that he was destroyed and he was doing his best to stay functional.
Sorry. I'm trying my best to lock in, but I'm a little destroyed right now. Holy dude, I'm trying my best, but...
So he sat down, he started swaying, and within a short amount of time, things did not look good whatsoever. Because that's when it became clear to everyone watching that he was ODing.
What's up, guys? Where's somewhere I can sit down for a second? Oh my god. Holy.
Oh, that was the OD? I didn't even see the full OD video.
What? Oh, W. Dude, I'm gone. Oh my god, Holy.
I have another IRL streamer by the name of Androgenic who honestly has a whole lore to himself. Honestly, that's just another video. But regardless, I mean, he's sitting there, he doesn't know what to do, so he offers him a stimulant. And that's, I guess, around the time when the cameraman realized, uh-oh, something's really wrong, so he panned away from Clavicular, and the stream then cut.
You want natty? You want natty? You want an Addy?
So once the stream ended, people were like, okay, what just happened? What caused this to happen? So in the hours that followed, people actually started going through the stream footage and clips, piecing together what Clav and his circle had been taking. And apparently they were going crazy about the pentastack, which is just a whole plethora of substances I can't even say here on this channel. But one of the substances here has a very unforgiving margin. At lower doses, it produces kind of a euphoric and loose feeling that some people compare to alcohol without calories, which you may guess is the reason why it became popular in the looks maxing community. But I guess the gap between working as intended and dangerous is really pretty narrow. And it narrows further when you combine it with a whole bunch of other stuff, which means at a certain point, it stops being recreational and starts affecting your breathing until you pass out. And earlier from the stream, Clav appeared to be drinking this from a small bottle. And apparently this is something that's normally dosed in capfuls. And this guy's just drinking it straight from the bottle. So clearly he was having a little bit more than that intended amount. And then he was also talking about having something he called blue throughout the night, which a lot of people are speculating to be the Walter White special, though honestly it's hard to say what exactly that could be because we can only speculate. But either way, whatever combination he had was bad and he ended up ODing on it. And after the stream went dark, Androgenic then later explained on Twitter what happened in the moments that followed. And by his account, the shift went from worrying to serious in just a few seconds. Clav went from speaking to being unresponsive almost instantly, and the group made the call to get him out of there and get him to the hospital. And there was footage of Clav being carried out of the venue by his security and loaded up into a black SUV. And TMZ also shared a recording of a call from Miami EMS dispatchers mentioning a 20-year-old male overdose at a South Miami Avenue address where the stream had taken place.
Rescue 16 trying to respond, 20-year-old male overdose. Rescue 16 trying to respond, 20-year-old male overdose.
And what followed was his parents were reportedly informed, and his father, who lives in New Jersey, was now heading straight to Miami. And by the following morning, Clav had been discharged and was back home. And he posted a selfie with his face scraped up from the mask and addressed the whole situation. And he said the substances had been his way of managing what he described as the difficulty of being in.
The irony of his face getting all messed up out of this is actually so crazy. Like, you do all that in order to maximize your looks, in order to say that you can get all the girls, in order to say that you're making millions of dollars and you're big baller and all this stuff. And at the end of it, you're facing a lawsuit. You're facing all of your financial capabilities to be limited and constricted. And you're going to have to actually look yourself in the mirror and see the damages directly and what they've really caused you in just a short amount of time. It's just so ironic, like just like that big. Actually, let me just go back to it, just so that we can see. Where is it?
who lives in New Jersey, was now heading straight to Miami. And by the following morning, Clav had been discharged and was back home. And he posted a
like, look at his face. No.
We can only speculate. But either way, whatever combination he had was bad, and he ended up ODing on it and getting him to the hospital. And those footage of Clav being mess dispatchers mentioning a 20-year-old male
overdose
selfie with his face.
Like, look at his face. This whole area just cut. Under here, cut. You could probably see some slight swelling over here in his cheeks. Like, look at like just direct impact, directly affecting what your brand is and what you try to stand for. Tonight was definitely an interesting night. We had some big variety of different things that are honestly really extreme. And it's starting to get to a point where the extremes are trickling into every little aspect of our lives. And it's like, how do we end up here? And there's always going to be extremes covered in the news because obviously that's what makes news. But how are these little impacts affecting us? How are these little incidences causing for individuals to either want to be a part of the community and do things the right way, right? And attack things head on and want to go through the trials, tribulations, and to properly contribute to the community? And what are those that are trying to escape, trying to run away, trying to maximize themselves in order to escape the longevity of what life is and really try and help and impact the community and just deciding to live for themselves? Indulgence, greed, and wanting to take everything and not give back what's really needed. So this was a fun live stream. I definitely enjoyed watching a lot of these videos with you guys. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're going to try and make sure that we're doing this weekly, and we'll probably hit a gaming show. I'll probably put a gaming show up weekly as well, so we can really focus on gaming as well as, you know, the media, so we can get a little bit of both, and we're not leaving out, you know, the full components of what it means to be a glitched philosopher. All right. I'm gonna try and put the links to all the videos that I've used today into the description below. As always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and stay glitched.